do you think you can compassionately take the life of someone who doesn't want to die?
It's an animal. Obviously, it like works differently towards humans, but an animal I feel like doesn't understand.
My name is Natalie, and I'm here with
Emily
and
Alec.
And today we're going to be talking about eating dogs. So what are your general thoughts on it? Are you pro or anti?
I mean, I'm anti-eating your pet dog, but if I go to like a specific city in China and that's like their cultural food, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah. How about you?
I feel like the same way. I wouldn't really eat my dog, but I'd probably try it if like it was like the cultural food.
Okay. Yeah, so that's like there's this festival in Yulin that takes place every year where they basically breed around 10,000 dogs into existence and then they eat them. So you would eat those dogs?
I'm not sure I'd be pro eating those dogs that are bred specifically for that. Maybe I'd try it once, not like an everyday thing with chicken.
Yeah, so you think it's worse because they're bred into existence?
I think it's worse because dogs are more like pet animals. Chickens are just there kind of more to be eaten.
So there's like kind of a distinction in our society, you mean?
Yeah, basically.
Do you think like because something's cultural, does that make it like the right thing to do?
Because it's cultural, it's the norm in their community, so I don't think it's wrong for people in a specific community that eat dog to eat them.
What do you think?
I feel like it depends because like there are certain communities that also like eat humans, like cannibal communities.
Yeah. Are there cannibal communities?
Yeah, I read about like specific islands that are kind of like secluded, where the people aren't like civilized, really, and they eat each other and like they eat people who come. And like they kill people who come in and they eat them, and like I feel like I wouldn't like eat a human if I went to that kind of cultural place, but a dog's a little different because it's still like an animal.
Yeah. So I guess another thing I wanted to ask, like not just specifically eating dogs is cultural, but like is anything okay because it's cultural?
Not anything. If there's like a cultural like killing spree, I wouldn't go out and kill someone. So I guess you have to base it on your own judgment too.
Would it be accurate to say that maybe like anything done toward animals that's cultural is okay? Would you agree with that?
Not really. I'm against like makeup companies testing products on animals, so I guess not anything done towards animals, okay?
Yeah. And what makes you against that specifically?
I just feel like there's a lot of more natural products you can buy that are more naturally tested without like harming anyone.
Okay. How about you?
I feel like, I don't know, it's okay. More or less, like I think you have to test it on something, so like it's better like test it on an animal and something happens to the animal than for you to test on humans and something happens to a human. But
yeah, I guess you could argue that I mean we don't necessarily need those products to exist in the first place, right? If we're just talking about makeup, so if anyone has to be harmed, then it could be bad, right? Regardless if it's tested on a human or animal.
I mean, there's other scientific ways for like products to be tested, like artificial like methods.
Yeah, totally. So do you think that humans need to eat animal products to survive and thrive?
I think in order to have a healthy and balanced diet, you're more likely to consume meat products. So like people who are vegan have more trouble getting the like specific proteins that they need.
What do you think?
I also think that eating animal products is like just part of everyday life and like most people's diet. And people who don't eat animal products have to eat like certain like vitamins and stuff just to maintain life. And I don't know, like, I mean, I'm not a scientist, but I feel like eating pills or extra vitamins can't be healthier than eating like a natural animal item.
Yeah. So I guess for that, do you think plants have protein?
There's certain plants that have protein, I'm pretty sure, like specific things, but not as high amounts as like eating a piece of chicken or steak or like animal product.
Yeah, it certainly depends on the plant. There are some plants that do have higher protein, like tempeh, tofu, things like that. But I did want to touch on the supplementation thing you mentioned. So there is one supplement that vegans need to take, and that's B12. But the thing is that if you eat an animal, that animal feed has also been supplemented with B12. So regardless of where you're getting it, it's still coming from a supplement.
I feel like if you're not taking the supplement directly, you could probably avoid some of the harmful impacts that it could take.
You mean like like if you're eating it through an animal versus just taking it directly?
I mean, I don't think it's well enough researched, but I think that if you're ingesting the animal rather than the supplement itself, you're probably avoiding some harmful measures that could happen.
Yeah, I think it is pretty well tested. They found that like around 40% of the U.S. population is deficient in B12. So regardless of whether you're eating animals or not, you should still be taking a B12 supplement. And it's one of those supplements that like, even if you take too much, you're just gonna pee it out.
What does B12 do?
Yeah, so it's like you need it for your brain, you need it for a lot of things, but it originally comes from dirt. So because we sanitize all our food now, we wash it all away. So that's why we're not getting it from food sources.
So do you not wash your vegetables?
Oh, I do. I mean, the B12 is washed off before I even wash them. Yeah, I don't I don't eat dirt or anything.
Just making sure.
Yeah. So you kind of touched, or I want to ask some other questions. Typically, do you think the fact that humans have been eating animals, since the beginning of time, do you think that makes it a good thing to do?
I think because people usually grow up eating whatever their family eats, it's kind of engraved in a lot of cultures, and a lot of cultural foods revolve around meat.
Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I feel like you kind of most people grow up doing like whatever their parents did, and then like once they reach a certain age, they either continue that tradition or create their own. And for the most part, like everyone's parents, like from like the last generation, no one was really like vegan or like vegetarian really. Like I feel like most people kind of grew up eating meat.
Yeah, certainly. So do you think that makes it the right thing to do since everyone kind of grew up with it?
I feel like it's hard to abandon specific cultural foods, and people don't want to lose track of their culture in whatever way possible. Mm-hmm. So I think you incorporate a lot of the foods that your family makes to keep family traditions or family recipes. It makes it harder.
Yeah. I guess kind of a counter argument to that would be like, now that it's 2022, we can essentially make substitutes for any animal foods. Like they have vegan steak now. They have, like, if you're talking, in Mexican cultures, like cheese is very cultural, but there's vegan cheese now too. So I guess, do you think that if we can get these foods and still maintain cultures without harming animals, would that be a better thing to do?
I think it's not the same because like I've tried like plant-based food, plant-based cheese, plant-based like meat, whatever, and they taste like, some of them taste pretty similar, but it's like not the same thing. And I feel like a lot of people kind of like escaped from certain countries that were like prejudiced towards them, and now they're even more into their culture than they would have been had they been there, because they are now like free to do whatever they kind of want to do. Like our parents, for example, they left Soviet Russia to like practice our religion and all that, and all like religious holidays and foods, they all kind of require to eat animal.
Yeah, so I guess you kind of brought up another point that I think is important, is like freedom, like essentially like people should have the freedom to do, kind of what they choose. Do you think animals should have freedom to live their lives free from harm inflicted by humans?
I mean, animals kind of rely on humans for the most part in order to get food and to get the resources they need, unless they're out in the wild. So it's hard to say that they're living free from humans if, in order to get fed or like have space like designated to them by humans, they need to be like contained in some way.
They need to be like basically bred into existence, you mean, to in order to exist? Or
in order for like animals that aren't living in the wild, they rely on humans, so they can't really be free to like such an extent.
Yeah, I guess kind of a counter argument to that would be like, they do rely on humans, but does that give us the right to mistreat them, or should we treat them well because they rely on us?
I think there's a difference between mistreating an animal and eating an animal. Okay. So like I don't think I would be able to like go out and hunt an animal. Like that's just not something I would be able to do. But when it comes to like eating meat, I would have no issue doing it, because like I don't really see the animal getting killed.
So since it's like kind of out of sight, out of mind?
More or less, like I'm still aware that like someone killed this animal, but as long as it wasn't me, like I'm good.
Do you think that that makes a difference to the individual animal, like if you killed them or if someone else did?
Different cultures have like different methods of like killing their animals. Like, let's say people who eat kosher, their meat is killed a specific way that's not supposed to harm the animal. So you can argue that if people are eating kosher, even though they're eating the animal, it's not being mistreated in any way.
Do you know the difference between kosher and like non-kosher, like specifically?
I don't.
So kosher animals are
Like how they're killed, I mean. Yeah.
so kosher animals are killed. If I'm not mistaken, it's with one slit that kind of bleeds them in a specific way where it's not really supposed to be. It's the most one of the most
the least painful
yeah.
method.
It's like one of the most humane ways to kill an animal, and just regular animals that are used for like packaging meat that you could buy from like any supermarket. I actually watched a documentary on like the difference between just regular, organic, and free range, and they showed that like the way they kill animals that are just like in the supermarkets, it's kind of messed up the way they do it, especially like pig slaughterhouses. I've seen them kind of just like some of them just crush a bunch of them.
Yeah. So pigs are typically put into a gas chamber, and like because it's considered more humane because they don't like to walk in a single file line, so they like to put 2 or 3 of them into a gas chamber, and then they kind of thrash around violently for 1 to 2 minutes and then die. What do you think about that method?
I don't know. I can't really speak on it because I don't know much about like what's more humane and what's less humane, but it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah. So I guess I want to touch on a couple things. You mentioned, you got the difference right between kosher and non-kosher is that if it's not kosher, the animals are typically stunned with a bolt gun before their throats are slit, and if it's kosher, their throats are just slit right away. So do you think if it were you, would you rather be unconscious before you got your throat slit, or would you rather just have it slit right away? What do you think?
I feel like the animals don't know that they're really getting their throat slit, so like
I mean, I feel like I would rather just get my throat slit. I'm more of like a rip the band-aid off type of person, so that seems like the fastest, most like painless approach.
Do you? I do want to ask, what does humane mean? Like if you looked it up in the dictionary.
I don't know the exact definition, but I feel like it's something along the lines of
Most morally correct.
So it means compassionate or benevolent. So you have to ask, do you think you can compassionately take the life of someone who doesn't want to die?
It's an animal. Obviously, it like works differently towards humans, but an animal I feel like doesn't understand, and you can't understand what they're feeling. Like even if the animal is sick and does want to die, like you'll never be able to fully understand that.
Yeah, we definitely can't understand kind of what their emotional experience of life is like. But you can, like if you watch Slaughterhouse footage, you can see them, trying to run away and trying to escape their death. Do you think there's like an inherent drive to survive in life forms besides humans?
Yeah, I feel like animals also have a fight or flight mechanism. Mm-hmm. So whenever you're in danger, and for humans also, whenever you're in danger, like you have the instinct to prioritize your life and do whatever you need to.
Totally, yeah. So I guess maybe that would be kind of the inherent will to survive. Yeah. So do you think because humans are like smarter and more dominant, does that give us reign to kind of treat the world and animals according to our needs?
Maybe it doesn't give everybody the right to do that, but it kind of ends up that way because
it's definitely ended up that way, yeah.
Once you have a farm and you have animals, in order for you to survive and like keep things the way you need them to run, you're forced to like take care of the animals at first, and then eventually you kill them, you eat them, and the cycle keeps on going.
Yeah, I guess you could also argue that you could farm plants instead of animals, right? So like
I'm sure people farm plants and animals, but just eating like leaves isn't really going to give you the correct nutrients.
No, not leaves, definitely not. But like there's a lot of science, more and more emerging, that shows that humans don't need to eat animal products to survive. So to me, that kind of means that since we don't need to do it anymore, whereas I feel like we did used to get to that point, that we might need to think about it more and to question what we're doing. What do you think about that?
My overall opinion is that I think everybody should have every option to take whichever route they want to. If people want to go vegan and like enjoy foods that aren't like animal products, they should be able to do that. But I don't think people who want to continue eating animal products should be shamed in any way. I feel like everybody should make their own choices and whatever they feel is best for them.
So you think it's like a personal choice if you want to be vegan or not?
I definitely think so.
Yeah. So I used to think so as well, and then I kind of came to the conclusion that, like, say it is my personal choice, but at the same time, if I were eating an animal product, would it affect that animal?
I'm sure it would affect that animal, but animals don't process things the same way. So I guess you could say you kind of have the control in that sense.
Yeah. I guess the point I'm getting at is that, like, the fact that there is someone else who's affected makes it a choice, but not necessarily a personal choice. Does that make sense? Or you disagree because it's an animal?
I disagree. I feel like everybody should make their decisions on what they feel they should be eating, whether like there's a growing community of people who don't eat animal products. So I guess a lot of people are taking that choice, but at the end of the day, whoever wants to continue eating meat should be able to do so.
Okay, cool. I guess we can end the conversation here. I'm really trying to encourage people to, think about the consumption of animals and because like when we're talking about like someone beating a dog, right? We don't say like, oh, it's fine for me to beat the dog because I'm okay with it. We would say that dog is suffering, therefore, you should stop beating a dog. So I just want to encourage everyone to look through the animal's perspective and to think about if it's harming them or not. Do y'all have any questions for me?
No, thank you.
All right, yeah, thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Please hit that like button, and if you missed yesterday's video, click to the left.